Hey everyone, welcome back to ONYX Pages. I am here to talk about Slay. Slay was written by Brittany Morris. It was published by, does it say Snowpulse? Snowpulse, which is an imprint of Simon and Schuster. And this is a gift from my Tomi. So thank you very much, Tomi. And yes, I really like the cover. I love the colors on it. And we're doing glasses and I'm trying to match somehow. I hope you enjoy. Slay. Black gamers go through this every day, I remind myself. It's just part of gaming while black. Racism crops up in so many places. I should be used to it by now, but I shouldn't have to be. Not here, not in Slay. I'm here to defend that right to safety, to defend this space. I am a queen and this is my game. And let's learn a little bit about the book. By day, 17-year-old Kira Johnson is an honors student, a math tutor, and one of the only black kids at Jefferson Academy. But at home, she joins hundreds of thousands of black gamers who duel worldwide as Nubian personas in the secret multiplayer online role-playing card game Slay. No one knows Kira is the game developer, not her friends, not her family, not even her boyfriend Malcolm, who believes video games are a distraction to keep the black man from becoming great. Yes, hotepery at its best. But when a teen in Kansas City is murdered over a dispute in the Slay world, news of the game reaches mainstream media, and Slay is labeled a racist, exclusionist, violent hub for thugs and criminals. Even worse, Kira faces potentially being sued for anti-white discrimination, and an anonymous troll infiltrates the game, threatening to harass all the players and take over. Driven to save the only world in which she can be herself, Kira must preserve her secret identity and harness what it means to be unapologetically black in a world intimidated by blackness. But can she protect her game without losing herself in the process? Okay, so what to say about Slay? I ate Slay. Slay was a meal. I ate it. I enjoyed it. And at the same time, I really had problems with some of the characters. So I hated her boyfriend Malcolm. I found him to be overbearing, abusive, and really problematic, like many black men who are part of that hotep world in which everything's about keeping the black man down, and that the black man's role is to dominate black women, and black queer people are abominations, and like all of that crap. Malcolm was that. And so in hating Malcolm and having a lot of anger where Malcolm was concerned, I found myself reminded of the men that I met in my youth who were extremely patriarchal and discriminatory and oppressive toward women, toward queer folks, towards trans folks, all in the name of uplifting the black man. And I just loved to hate Malcolm. So thank you, Brittany Morris. I appreciate that. I think that I'm just gonna talk. I'm gonna talk at you. I don't have notes for this one. I think that there was an element to this story that felt very, like some of the beats were very predictable for me. I was like, okay, now this is gonna happen, and now this is gonna happen, and now this is gonna happen. And you could see, like, it was almost cinematic the way that this was written, because I could sort of see this story unfold as elements or chapters. Like, I guess in some ways it kind of felt like a game. Now that I've spent some time with a Nintendo Switch, I understand how chapters and scenes work in gaming, and it reads like a game a little bit. There are a lot of games being played in the story, and different quests and challenges that the main character goes through. So I loved the fact that the gameplay was actually on the page, and when I show you my annotations, you'll see that there are sections in the book where the text is different because you actually you're brought in game and you actually see characters speaking to each other, and it was just really interesting to see that. And also because gaming and role-playing RPGs are alternate universes that people engage in despite who they are in their waking life, I really appreciated seeing, adult characters and young characters be a part of this game and have these secret identities outside of their mainstream lives. I think that the book really took up questions about friendship and interracial friendship, and really put there were a lot of moments where Brittany Morris put words to things that I had experienced in my friendships with non-Black people of color and also white people, where, there's just this either willful or misunderstanding of what it means to be Black and in the world right now. And there were times when I was just rolling my eyes. I'm like, oh my God. Like, it was just satisfying because there were just a lot of tropey, cliche characters and situations that were brought to the page that I was just like, ugh, kind of validating. Also exhausting, right? There are elements of this book that were just like, oh, I can't. It's so irritating. Okay, so let's talk about the world building. Let's go through the 7 carries. So the world building, I think, was good. A lot of the fantastical element of this is actually inside of a game. And some folks have said, like, is this really fantasy? Well, I mean, I take it, it's certainly speculative, like a game where you're safe being Black and everything's about being Black and Blackness and all of that. Like, there's definitely a speculative element to that. I hope that it no longer is a speculative thing, but I think it is now. And I think that there's certainly an element of fantasy where you have, well, not fantasy proper, but you have real life people engaging in a fantasy world. Like, because you're brought into the gameplay, there are elements of fantasy in this book that happen in the gameplay, right? And I love the way Brittany wrote the gameplay. The world, the Nubia, like the world is really beautifully rendered and really interesting. The challenges and the games were so good and fun. And there was so much Black love. It was almost like saccharine in its love for Blackness. And I was here for it. This was like a lollipop in a lot of ways. So full carry shell for the world building. Another full carry shell for the characters. I found the characters relatable, believable. And I found that there was diversity in the characters. That was really cool. There was an interesting character that was maybe queer, maybe non-binary. And while I would have liked to hear more about that particular character, I was really thankful that we got some insight into their experience through the gameplay. So that was really cool. The themes were things like, racism, willful ignorance around racism, emancipation through gameplay. There's a whole legal thing that happens, obviously, with this lawsuit and, the extent to which the law will protect young Black women and their intellectual property. There are all sorts of questions about the validity of the concept of reverse racism. So there was a lot. There's definitely a lot in this book that was relevant to me and relevant to Black queer lives. So I've talked about world building, characters, relevance, themes, the point of view. We've got the main character who is Kira. She's young. She's brilliant. She's young. She's brilliant. She's got a big heart. She loves her people. She loves Black people. And she is you know, just trying to make it work, trying to do a thing. And I really appreciated her sophistication and also her vulnerability, and I found her heartwarming, and just lovely, lovely girl. And I would say that in terms of the reading experience, I cried. I was crying. I cried. I cried on the subway when I read this. There was this one moment I was just like, no. So there was like tears, there was laughter, a lot of anger. It was good. It was a good experience reading this book. So I think this is probably, I won't count the calories because I didn't make my notes, but the book itself is really beautiful. So let me step in front of the camera and show you some things. So first of all, you will probably see these colors show up as red and not as fluorescent pink as they are, but we've got fluorescent because the camera's coloring runs a little warm. But there is pinks, there are pinks, blues, and I will bring her a little closer to you and move the book around so you can see that her glasses, there's actually some silver foiling here. Hope you can see that. And then when you open the book, she also reminds me of the girl from Blackish and the big, what was that movie called that she did with Issa Rae and Tiffany Haddish? Yeah. So then on the inside, you've got this great rose gold on top of pink foil. And then it's also debossed, right? So there are these little depressions. And these kind of remind me of the matrixy kind of like pixelation type situation. There's kind of graffiti line, like it's just really nicely done. And then we've got Slay, right? So just a gorgeous book beneath the dust jacket. And nice coloring. To everyone who has ever had to minimize who you are to be palatable to those who aren't like you. Ain't that the truth? I loved the cloud washi that I used. And the first chapter is called Playing the Game, which I wrote double entendre. So my annotations for this were pretty sparse. This was more of, a book that I enjoyed and read, but I just really I wasn't super analytical about it. I just sort of followed along with it. So most of my annotations look like this. I didn't bedazzle the book at all, but I did promise you a look at the pages where you've got more than one kind of text. So you'll see the dark bold text is in game, and then you've got the lighter times or whatever it is that is sort of real world. And then toward the end, let's see, I don't think I had any pages that were super, I was like, so sweet, black girls showing up for each other. And great quotes. You'll see a lot of these curly cues happening. And yeah, that was the book. I have also been doing this thing at the end of my books where I do a little like family tree so I can remember the relationships between characters, just so that I don't have a problem when I review the books months and months after I actually read them. So that was Slay by Brittany Morris. Would I read other works from this world? Yes, I would. I think this is a standalone, and I would read more works from this writer. I think that's all I have to say about it at this point. I enjoyed it. It was what I needed. It was what I needed at the time. That is all. If you've read Slay, let me know what you thought. Please put a blue thing, a pink thing, and a silver thing or gray thing in the comments if you have watched this video all the way to the end. Remember to read with purpose. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video, in which I talk about, I'm going to talk about my reread of The Stars and the Blackness Between Them, and I'll see you in a bit.